Thank you. So thank you very much. So I want to ask you a question. So I know everybody in the room's heard of the Cajun Navy, right? So if you haven't heard of the Cajun Navy, raise your hand. Okay, that's what I thought. Now, you haven't heard of the Cajun Navy?
No.
Really? Okay, there you go. One person. That's impressive for one person. So how many of you have ever heard of the Cajun Army, and do you realize that there's a difference? So this is interesting. This is exciting to be able to explain our dysfunctional Louisiana family dynamics to you. So the Cajun Navy, if you think about the Cajun Navy, they're like if you had a family and one of the kids became a rock star. And, you know, they're on stage everywhere because when the stuff hits the fan, you know, the news is there and all the dangerous environment, you know, and they're out there risking their lives, and they're, that's been going on since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. The Cajun Army is the kid in the family that decided to join the Peace Corps, or that decided to donate their life to the mission field. That there is no there's no rock star you know, mentality. We're just out trying to serve people. So my goal today is to educate you all on a little bit about these different groups and what they do and what the Cajun Army does and how we started. So that's kind of awareness is a huge part of our mission, as you'll learn about what we do. Bringing awareness to what we do is critical to our mission, and I'm sure here at NASA you know a little bit about missions, probably a lot more than we do. So we did not exist before last year in August of 2016. The state of Louisiana was flooded in what was called the 1,000-year flood. Does that sound familiar? It was a flood that destroyed about a third of our state. There were about 150 to 180,000 homes damaged. I'm still trying to figure out where they come up with these numbers because I don't think anybody really knows. And I know what we went through, and that's when we started, and we'll talk a little more about that. But what happened here in Texas is 5 to 7 times the scope of what happened in Louisiana. And so Louisianians know the pain that we went through, and that's why we're here. We know what's going to happen before the people here know what's going to happen because we've been living it the last year. How many of you in this room flooded? So, okay, good. So just a few. That's good. Not a lot of you. Did you know that there are close to 800,000 FEMA registrations for help? 800,000 homes. That's unbelievable. So we'll get into this in a little bit, and I'll try to be as brief as possible and as interesting as possible. I'm going to start with a little bit about me. I have a beautiful family. I've got a wife and 2 daughters. I have a daughter in college at LSU and a daughter that's a senior in high school at Episcopal. I have 2 basset hounds and a cat. So I'm just your average Joe American guy. I went to Louisiana State University, graduate of LSU. I have a ministry background. I spent 4 years as a youth minister, and I've worked in youth ministry for about 17 years as a volunteer. I'm actively participating in a ministry called Kairos Prison Ministry. Is anybody familiar with Kairos? Got one guy. Kairos is a ministry where we go into Louisiana State Penitentiary at Angola, and we minister to inmates there. I will actually be participating in the first death row Kairos in February. So this has been a part of my life and a part of who I am. And I'm in music. I'm a musician, or I'm an attempted musician. I play the guitar, and as a youth director, you got to be able to play the guitar, right? So I have a small business back home called Next Level Solutions. I sit here and I look at the NASA resources, and it just kind of, I'm in awe of the campus and that. And I've got, because I'm a small business guy, got a little company that helps small businesses run their business. We're a full-service IT company, an accounting group, and an HR component. So it'll give you a little bit of insight into how quickly the Cajun Army was able to formalize and get propped up and in operation.
Are you located in Lafayette or Baton Rouge?
I live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Or actually, I live in Prairieville, but it's a suburb of Baton Rouge. So the Cajun Army started the night of the day our flood occurred. I had some employees that were stranded. And I know this map means nothing to you all because you don't really know the scope. But my house is here, and these people were over here, which is by car. It's about a 35-minute drive, and this river is the one that flooded. To give you an idea, we set out to rescue these people and put a boat in the water here, so it gives you some sort of scope of how big the flooding was in that area. And there were I had a couple of clients from Morgan City, borrowed 2 boats. And we said it's time to go save some people, and we got in the boat. We went up this river in flood conditions with it flowing down to get them and get them back to my house. And we almost lost the boat a few times. We were probably stupid for doing what we did, but we rescued them, their spouses, their 4 kids, some elderly people, 3 dogs, a pile of bags on 2 little boats, and it was a crazy adventure. And I can tell you, I'm not a manly man. My wife cuts the grass at my house. So I was very proud to call myself a part of the Cajun Navy at that point. I did something brave, and it was a day full of every emotion you can imagine. There was fear, excitement, joy, uncertainty. I mean, you name it. Probably much like the Apollo 13 mission, I guess, on a much smaller scale. But so I realized, I was like, wow, we're part of the Cajun Navy. This is cool. We're part of the rock stars. And we got those people back home and in hotels. And that night, as I sat there, keep in mind ministry background, right? I've spent my entire life in a ministry environment. I had witnessed a lot of devastation from here to there and on that journey that day. And those 2 guys and I said, there's a lot more to be done here than to rescue people by boat. There are going to be people whose lives are crushed. And that day, the Cajun Army was formed. I created a Facebook group that day. The other 2 guys were out gutting houses and helping people. And that night, I was like, there's no Cajun Army. I mean, the military, once the water goes down, what do? You need an army, right? And so I created this Facebook group, and I told those guys, I said, hey, guys, I created a Facebook group for us, and, I added about 100 friends, and next thing I knew, the Cajun Army was born. And I literally thought in my mind that I was going to manage on a spreadsheet all the people my friends that needed help and that wanted to help, and people. I was, in my mind, this was a mission trip. I planned them. I've been on them before. I know that the hard things about a mission trip is where are we going to sleep, what are we going to eat, and how are we going to meaningfully connect with people that need our help. If you've ever been on anything like that, that's the difficult part of putting it together. The Cajun Army's initial focus was to create that and to connect the resources to people in need to help them. And so what I didn't realize, because I had no clue what I had done, I mean, there was a little tail sticking out under the curtain, and I went over and I said, what is that? And I grabbed it, and it was a tiger on the other side of the curtain. Within a week, we had 2,500 members. I spent 18 hours a day in my office onboarding people, trying to get an infrastructure in place. I mean, we didn't even exist. We're almost at 19,000 members now, people from all over the country. That work that I thought that I was going to do on a spreadsheet myself, there's a team of about 50 people on an administrative team that coordinate, they call, they counsel with people. They coordinate work, they dispatch teams, they provide supplies, meals, and these are just the coordinators. So it's been quite a journey. We've developed a nationwide audience. So what's really cool about this is people have grabbed our mission and they've adopted our mission, and it's become their mission. And they're coming from all over the country. We've had people from France come demo houses, and people from the West Coast. Now, I'll give you some of the groups. We had the 1% militia from Connecticut. We had Burners Without Borders from Colorado. Yes, the Cajun Army will take the potheads, too. We will take anybody that'll help somebody. We had the Scientologists. We had, you name it. I mean, these groups of people just came from everywhere. And so when this happened in Louisiana, we knew that we had a resource that could help Texas that would be poor stewardship on our part to not do anything. And so it was a no-brainer to begin to grab that audience. When this started in Texas, we had about 10,700 members, and that was a month ago. So within the last month, we've added, we've gotten up to near the 19,000 mark. 2 weeks into this, as a business person, small business owner, and somebody that runs business, I knew I had a liability concern on my hands because we were going into people's houses with sledgehammers and tearing their stuff up. So we formed a corporation. We are a legitimate 501c3. We operated the first year with no checkbook. In fact, we refused to accept money because we wanted to send the message that we're not here to monetize this. We're here to love on you, and we're here to give you hope. And we're just here to spread the message that some guy taught us 2,000 years ago, to love your neighbor as yourself. And so that really, really helped spark our growth. It gave us instant credibility. Well, these people don't want our money. Well, what are they about, you know? And we have had operations in Louisiana. We actually had an operation in North Carolina after Hurricane Matthew. Yes, the national media came to town, made a deal out of it, and then left on North Carolina and Louisiana, and now Texas. They're gone. You all here may not even know, since a lot of you haven't heard of the Cajun Army, but there are people living in tents right now. There are elderly. Well, we just ran across a 72-year-old blind man who's alone and has nobody, living in a moldy house. There's an 80-year-old couple, that lost everything. I mean, I could sit here and name these stories over and over. These are countless stories of the people that we run across and that we really end up helping. I was talking with the gentleman here earlier about, and the lady that drove us. They flooded, and their house they've already gutted. They're putting sheetrock up, and, people with resources are doing this. But there is no reason in our country, in this day and age, with the technology that we have, that people should be living the way that they're living and suffering the way that they're suffering. And so that's why I'm here today, is to help spread the message of hope. I talked about the love your neighbor as yourself. That really is the core of what we do. And it's amazing to me to see the stories and the things that have happened for people that have started living this out and helping people. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. We've been doing this close to 14 months now. We've had over 2,000 people request help between Louisiana and Texas, which is just a drop in the bucket, because I can promise you a lot of them don't even know we exist. And these are just the people that we're able to reach with our limited funding and our limited audience, which is a great audience, but it's really not as big of a platform as it could be. We've gutted hundreds and hundreds of homes. I don't even know how many now, because our teams will get on a street and they'll find somebody else, and they'll just go down the block and help people. We've fed thousands of people, delivered supplies, and so we are the boots on the ground effort that goes on not just during the period when there are floodwaters, but long after. Our initial plan in Texas, we figured we would be here 3 to 6 months. And the size of this, we'll just let it happen. So what's cool about this, and when we talk about thousands of lives impacted, So as a person with a ministry background, it was really rewarding for me in the beginning to put it out there. I remember the first night I did a Facebook Live video. It was my daughter's 16th birthday, and it was a week after the flood in Louisiana. And I was really not present. She got robbed of her 16th birthday because I was in the middle of this thing launching. And I remember going out to dinner that night. I was completely distracted, and I just looked around at all the people that were laughing and cutting up and joking and doing their thing, just living their lives. And I got in my truck after that, and I turned on Facebook Live, and I gave it one of those rants that went viral. And that's really what got people's attention. And so the people that have gotten involved, though, now, it's amazing to me. I mean, thousands and thousands of people, the stories that I hear, and I'll tell you a couple of them. I'll tell you the story of Kimberly. Kimberly is a young lady in her 30s, mid to late 30s. I don't know her exact age. She married the love of her life, who was later diagnosed with terminal illness, and she lost her husband. Shortly after that, she was involved in a horrific car accident and lost her leg. Kimberly flooded in March of last year in Louisiana. There was some flooding in March, and she lost everything that she owns. And she began to put her life back together with one leg and no husband. And she's a tough, tough woman. And then come August, she flooded again. And I'm going to tell you that Kimberly, who we call Supergirl Kimberly, because her prosthetic leg has a picture of Supergirl on it. But she's really Supergirl Kimberly because she spent the better part of a year with her own home flooded out helping other people. And she will, get a little emotional, but she will tell you that this changed her life. And when you look and you see a person like that and what she's done, it's changed our lives to witness what she's done. I'll tell you a story about Trisha Jo Hoffman, who's a Slidell girl, Louisiana girl. She lost everything as a teenager in Hurricane Katrina, so she knows what it's like to be flooded and to lose everything. That was back in 2005. Trisha is now in her early 30s. She lives in Los Angeles, or in Hollywood. She's a fitness model and an actress, and Trisha came to volunteer with us last year for a week, and we fell in love with her. And she ended up staying for 5 months and running the Cajun Army in Louisiana. Fast forward to Texas, Trisha came here and answered the call to get rid of her apartment, put her things in storage, to come down here to live in a stranger's house or on an air mattress because she was so touched by everything that she experienced. I got a text message from her the other night that she had plans to be at that concert in Vegas with her boyfriend. And the person they were going to meet up with was shot, and 2 of the people that were with them died. Do you think this changed her life? And I could go on and on and on. The little man that she found who lost everything, the Cajun Army adopted him. We gutted his trailer. We've rebuilt his trailer completely. New furniture, new grill. He now volunteers with us and is here in Texas helping other people. So I could go on and on. Those are the things that I love. What's really cool about this is I find myself very unintentionally in a position that I'm leading, I guess, what's called a movement. It's challenging the way that we normally live. It's looking at people and saying, just because we're comfortable, it doesn't mean we should just focus on ourselves. There's so many people out there that are in pain. And there are a lot of people, thousands and thousands of people, that I'm just in awe of that have caught on to this. I'm a person of faith. I know I'm in a room probably with a lot of scientists. And but I will tell you that there is no way possible that I am running this. The things that have happened, there is something much larger working here, and it's all because we're following some simple instructions that were left for us in this love letter called the Bible. I've been asked to speak places. I've never been asked to speak at NASA, and I'm honored to be here. I'm extremely honored to be here to get to share this with you all. Receiving, another blessing is just the notes of encouragement, the lives that get changed, these random messages I get from people, emails and Facebook messages and pictures and stories. They're overwhelming, but they're certainly a blessing. This has changed lives, and it's inspired people to do something different than what our culture tells us to do. Initially, one of the big attractions was in our community, we don't talk politics. I don't really care. We don't care whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, or whatever. We don't care. We don't have time for it. There are too many people that are in pain. And a lot of people have caught on to that message. We don't allow negativity and bickering. If you're going to sit there and fight, if we've got to discuss for more than 15 minutes where your heart is, we just move on. As a former church staff member, it's pretty refreshing because in the church you can't fire people, but Cajun Army, we'll court martial them in a second. We focus on what we have in common and not what makes us different. We don't use our platform to advertise. Now, if you're a company or somebody who donates to flood victims, we're going to tell the world about you, but we're not going to accept money to monetize our base. We simply just want to love people, and we want to counsel people, and we want to share their burden. We have what has become a very creative way to spread a gospel message in a secular package. And as a ministry person, I can't think of any mission more important than that. Faith has been, if you look at our logo, that cross is in the center of our logo. And the reason is that's really at the center of everything we do. And we're not all Christians. We've got Buddhists, we've got atheists, we don't discriminate or our core values don't allow us to do that. But the concept behind what we do is Christian driven. It is the simple commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. Faith drives our mission. Just imagine if everybody in life lived with that larger purpose. If we all just did that, if we all just helped one person, if all of those 19,000 members would come give up one day, how many people could be helped next week? That's the real reason that we've been successful. You all have not heard of us until now, but guess what? Now you have. Imagine if we all walked that way. So I think my time is up, but if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, sir.
So I can tell that the green part are different parishes in Louisiana. Looks like Acadiana's covered and Baton Rouge and
right.
Whatever. Why those parishes?
This was the area of our state that was devastated by the flood.
Okay.
That was the portion that's to give a visual representation of how much of our state was destroyed.
Yeah.
When you think about the impact on the infrastructure, the economy, just the way people live. I mean, people are still living in, people still living 2 to 3 families in a house. I mean, it's.
I thought it was just you didn't like Lake Charles. I'm from Lake Charles.
I love Lake Charles. It's just an abstract. We just picked a random area. So, does anybody else have any questions? I will say this. I will encourage you to go join. Or if you're not on Facebook, That's where our group resides. You can, if you're not on Facebook, you can find us at www.thecajunarmy.com. I'll give you a little secret: we're not all Cajun. In fact, most of us are not Cajun. Just the ones that started it are Cajuns. It's something very unique about our culture in Louisiana. Are there any Louisiana people? I know we have some.
Other than Lake Charles.
Other than Lake Charles.
Yeah, if you're from Lake Charles, I'm not interested. I'm just anybody else.
Yeah, it's not like Texas.
There is something very unique about our culture. Texas is similar. We found when we went to North Carolina, this didn't catch. It was just different. They just didn't get it. And Texas gets it, though. We've got 3 bases of operation. We're in Northwest Houston, near Magnolia, near Pasadena, and now in Hampshire. We were in Port Arthur for a while, gutting the homes of the first responders. But Texas gets it. This has really been, this has really been a cool thing. So thank you all very much. TheCajunArmy.com. We would love to. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I took a question. So,
Sure.
Are y'all y'all are based here right now, helping other people? Is your Facebook page have posts of where people can come help if they want to join? Or
So the process works like this. If you want to sign up, which I know everybody in the room wants to sign up now, because you can all help somebody. You're in Texas. We need Texas to help Texas too. You go to TheCajunArmy.com. It's a very utilitarian website. You can register for help. You can register to volunteer. When you go to volunteer, you list your skill sets and so forth, and whatever it is that you're, whether it's administrative or whether you want to run supplies or whether you want to gut a house, which is really what the huge need is to put on a Tyvek suit and respirator and go gut houses. But you can do that through our website. One of those administrative team on that admin team, we've got volunteer coordinators that monitor that system, and they will be in touch with you. I like to say within 24 to 36 hours, because none of us get a paycheck. We're all volunteers. This is all. So as you can imagine, the logistical nightmare as a leader trying to run an organization with nobody on the payroll. So give us a little bit of grace if we take, but we've been watching it pretty closely because we're down to the point now where we need people to help other people. So you can, there you go. Look at that. It's almost like we're at NASA or something. So if there are any more questions?
You have volunteers coming out. Where do you stay?
That is an excellent question. If you remember that one of those first slides, I said housing, meals, and work, right? We currently have partnerships with 3 church locations where you will have the luxurious accommodations of an air mattress and a shower and air conditioning and a bunch of church ladies that want to make you fat. So food is not a problem, and all the tools we have. If you notice on our website, if you don't mind, scroll up a little bit. This is kind of cool having somebody in the back of the room. We have a wish list here on Amazon. We don't publicly solicit money, and we don't solicit money, period. We finally had to open a bank account because people were coming to us saying, here, I'm giving you money. And so but anyway, this is our primary mode. This is what we do solicit. Go to that Amazon wish list. There's going to be a list of all the things that we need to sustain our operations. Wheelbarrows, Tyvek suits, respirators, pry bars, safety glasses. It's that type of stuff. So you would have luxurious accommodations, most likely in Hampshire, Texas, outside of Beaumont right now. That's where the huge need is. And, we'll put you up and it'll change. I will warn you, though, this will change your life. I promise you. It will change your life. And I've seen it happen too many times. So
are y'all helping any of the folks from Rockport or Corpus Christi that has initial hip?
I'm glad you said that. It brings me that we don't have an operation in Rockport, but there's a lot more than the Cajun Army and the Cajun Navy. There is these Cajuns, man. This is crazy. People. There's the Cajun commissary who is in Rockport. Tiffany Theriot has an operation there. She's been feeding, and they've been begging us to come, but we can only. I mean, you know, if everybody in this room signed up and said, "I've got contacts in Rockport, let's put up an operation," we could do it. You know, but you just have to. You can only do what you can do. So there have been some efforts that way by those groups, some of the other groups. Cajun Navy's done some stuff down there, and but we haven't. The devastation is so widespread. I mean, all of these little towns. I mean, there are these little towns that have been every house in the whole town is flooded. Cedar was one of them. You know, Rockport, Port Aransas, Reds Pass. I mean, all these places that we've heard about that is so overwhelming. You know, you can only do what you can do. But anyway, Cajun Army, Cajun Navy, Cajun Special Forces,
Air Force,
Cajun Air Force. It's brought me here today. Cajun. I flew in on a little private plane that's not a commercial. There's Cajun Airlift. There's the Cajun Commissary. There's Cajun Gravy. You ever heard of Cajun Gravy? They're feeding. They're partnering with us. There are all. I mean, it's pretty fascinating how all of these groups have formed. And I'll tell you, the Cajun Navy is an interesting one to study. They're very different than we are. The Cajun Army was created and formed from the top down. The Cajun Navy is not really an organization. There are multiple organizations, but the Cajun Navy, the name Cajun Navy was coined after Hurricane Katrina. Back then, there was no social media, right? Unless you were in college, you didn't know what Facebook was or Instagram or Snapchat or any of that. And the national media said, look at these crazy coon asses going out and doing what they're doing down there. And it was a loving jab at our culture. And I always say the Cajun Navy is not an organization, it's a characteristic of our culture. It's one of my favorite ways to describe it. And so it's really this great, there was nobody that started it, they just all did it at the same time. So fast forward to last year during the flood in Louisiana, now we have Facebook and all these other social media channels. These groups began to formalize. And so since nobody really owns the rights to the name, you'll see you'll see the Cajun Navy Relief, you'll see the Louisiana Cajun Navy 2016, Cenla Cajun Navy, United Cajun Navy. I mean, there are all these different groups that are forming, that have formed, because it started here and and it's trying to organize. A lot of people, that's why I call them the rock star, because the rock star is not always. They have a lot of fun and they're on stage all the time, but they tear up some hotel rooms and stuff too, right? But no, the Cajun Navy though is there are some of these groups they're really really good people, but when you get into this type of work, the most difficult thing about it is dealing with all the personalities and in the conflict and people trying to the way you lead. And so I've been very blessed. As a leader, my leadership style is, number one, I realize that it has nothing to do with me, that this does not belong to me, it's not mine, and that I have a tremendous responsibility, that God's given me a gift to be a steward of. And so I view my leadership role that way. It's more about the people, and they make the decisions. I just help them when we need to make decisions, help them realize that. So just kind of interesting how it all works. It's one of the sayings we use at Angola when we do prison ministry. We are ministering to dysfunction. We are a group of dysfunctional people ministering to dysfunctional people in a dysfunctional place, and it all functions at an extremely high level. I think that kind of describes the Cajun nation as well. So, any other questions? And I didn't put anybody to sleep, I don't think. So, thank you all very much.